one world government and cashless society. The idea for the creation of a new world order or a one world government was conceived from the event of the Tower of Babel. When a group of early people from after the flood rebelled against God, they tried to control the world and boasted to enter heaven and kill God. This event was recorded in the book of Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11 stated that, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves, otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth.' The Lord said, 'Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other.' So, the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world." Genesis 11, 1-4, 7-9. Genesis chapter 11 only gave us a summary of what happened at the event of the Tower of Babel, but the recording from the book of Jasher chapter 9 gives us a clearer picture and more details of what actually happened. Jasher recorded the following. "And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control, and all the earth was of one tongue and words of union." Jasher 9:20. From the above verse, we learn that Nimrod was the first king after the flood. He was king of the whole earth when mankind rebelled against God and the world had one language. Jasher stated that, "And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Phut, Mitzrayim, Cush and Canaan with their families, and they said to each other, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars.'" Jasher 9:21. All the princes of Nimrod mentioned by Jasher are what we refer to as ministers or cabinet members today, and we also notice that these cabinet members are only from the descendants of Ham. The sons of Ham are Cush, Egypt, Put and Canaan. Genesis 10:6. Who are these nations today? Cush is modern Ethiopia, Mitzrayim is modern Egypt and Put is modern Libya. These three bloodlines or families settled in Africa. While Canaan was the nation of Canaan, the original owners of the Promised Land, now known as Israel. After the Canaanites sinned, God gave the land to the Israelites and he scattered the Canaanites among the Arabian Peninsula countries. Let's examine the reason why the early people built the Tower of Babel and compare it to the plans of the Freemasons. They said, "We will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them." The primary purpose of building the great tower was to make themselves famous, to safeguard themselves from their enemies and to lord over the people and control the earth. Jasher stated that, "And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it, and whilst they were building against the Lord God of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all these people and all the families divided themselves in three parts. The first said, 'We will ascend into heaven and fight against him.' The second said, 'We will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them.' And the third part said, 'We will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears.' And God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building." Jasher 9:22-26. The descendants of Ham who built the Tower of Babel divided themselves into three groups, and below were their thoughts if they enter heaven. The first group said, "We will ascend into heaven and fight against God." The second group said, "We will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them." The third group said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. These 3 points will be relevant to revealing the plans of the Freemason and their New World Order. Jasher stated that, "And God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And as to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof, and a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part, which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number." Jasher 9:20-39. God sends his angels to confuse the people's minds and language, and the tower was called Babel, which means confusion, because God confused their language. The idea to control the world and lord over the people was derived from what the descendants of Ham tried to achieve, and the Freemason are planning to repeat the same thing but in a more organized and sophisticated way. The former president of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, while recognizing that the world is experiencing a great deal of political, economic and religious problems, he provided solutions to the problems. He stated in his book Perestroika, which means new thinking for our country and the world. Gorbachev stated that there are 3 main causes of war on Earth. These root causes of war are political conflicts, economic conflicts and religious conflicts. Gorbachev suggested that if the world had a one-world political system, one-world economic system and one-world religious system, wars and poverty would be eliminated and there would be peace and security for all nations and people. The combination of these 3 systems is called the one-world government. The implication of these suggestions is that every nation on Earth would have to relinquish or surrender their national sovereignties, currencies and religion to create a one-world government. This literally means that the world would have a one-world president, a one-world currency and economy system, and a one-world religion. The question to ask would be, who are the people behind this initiative and how would they actualize this task? The task would be achieved through the use of covert organization established by the promoters of the New World Order, and the most prominent organizations are the Freemason and the Illuminati. The Freemason and the Illuminati are secret societies that were founded in the 14th and 17th centuries. In modern times they are referred to as the conspiratorial organizations which act as a shadow government, their power behind the throne, and they control world affairs through present-day governments and corporations. The members of the secret societies are groups of highly intelligent, influential and powerful people. They are a secret government behind every government all over the world. They control world's affairs through present-day corporations and establishments, and history proves that they are responsible for world wars, most civil unrest and terrorism around the globe. They control every industry you can possibly imagine. They control the World Bank and finance industry, political industry, science and technology industry, military and security industry, media industry, fashion industry, entertainment industry, and the most important of all, the religious industry. The campaigns for new ways of running the affairs of mankind are not initiatives that started in recent times. Some important individuals have given the thoughts concerning the future of the world, which is the New World Order. While writing about the Freemasons' plan to control the world, Karl Marx, co-authored of the Communist Manifesto with Frederick Engels in 1848, openly declared that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Another individual who wrote about the future was Dr. Jose Arquelles, of an organization known as the Planet Art Network. Dr. Arquelles wrote, "Also implicit in all these events is a call for another way of life, another way of doing things. A redistribution of global wealth. In short, a new world order." Mr. Huxley gave us a date when we could expect these changes to occur. He wrote the following in his book written in 1958. The 21st century will be the era of world controllers. We are going to talk much more about how these individuals intend to take over and control the world as the lecture progresses. As stated earlier, Mikhail Gorbachev in his book Perestroika, which means new thinking for countries and the world, he wrote that there are three main root causes for wars in the world, and they are political wars, religious wars, and economic wars. His solution to bring an end to these wars and to finally bring peace to Earth would be to have a new world order or one world government, which will mean restructuring the world into the components below: one world political system, one world religious system, and a one world economic system. What does these mean? This practically means that the administration of the new world order or one world government would be segmented into three parts: a single political leader, a single world religion, and a single world economy and currency. Let's start with the one world political system. The idea behind a one world political system is to have a single world leader. This is a situation where every country on Earth drops the national flags and surrenders their sovereignties. In other words, no nation on Earth would have a president or a prime minister or a monarch to rule over them. And once this is achieved, a group of powerful people would appoint a single world leader who would be the president of the whole world. Those promoting the New World Order believe that the appointment of a single world leader would bring peace on Earth. They believe that if there is just one president, there will be no wars because he can't fight himself. One world religious system. The idea behind a one world religion is to have a single world religion, one belief or one faith. This is where every individual on Earth relinquishes their faith and religious rights and adopts a single world religion that will be introduced to mankind. The promoters of the New World Order believe that having a single world religion would bring religious peace to Earth. In other words, if there's only one religion, there would be no religious wars. I won't discuss much about the one world religion extensively here because I have a special topic for it. One world economic system. The idea behind a one world economy is to have a single world currency and economic policies. This is where every nation on Earth abandons their economic policies and national currencies and adopts the currency that would be introduced by the New World Order, and the value of the currency would be the same all over the world. This is almost impossible to believe, especially with that of one world religion. It is possible, and these plans would be actualized. The question on our minds would be, how will these powerful people actualize this great task? One world political system. The Bible prophesied how the plans for the New World Order will be accomplished. The plans to establish the New World Order or one world government are prophesied in the book of Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13 is divided into three sections, and they are stated below. Verses 1 to 8 depicted the one world political system. Verses 11 to 14 depicted the one world religious system. And verses 16 to 18 depicted the one world economic system. Revelation 13 revealed that the New World Order or one world government is the government of the Antichrist. The plans for the New World Order began with the unveiling of the $1 bill of United States of America in 1935. On the reverse side of the US $1 bill contains a picture of a pyramid. And a statement written in Latin is Novus Ordo Seclorum. And the interpretations of the Latin phrase are as follows. Novus means new, Ordo means order, Seclorum means secular or world. So, the proper phrase in English would be New World Order. It's important to ask, why is the phrase written in Latin? Latin was never an American language, and Italy was never involved in the American struggle for freedom. The symbol of the Illuminati and New World Order is pyramid with an eye. The symbol is known as all-seeing eye. So, why was the symbol of the pyramid put on the $1 bill? Who put the emblem on the $1 bill? The New World Order symbol, a pyramid with an eye, was put on the $1 bill by former U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1935. Former President Roosevelt was a member of the Freemason who was pushing for the creation of one world government before the establishment of the United Nations in 1945. Daniel's prophecies in Daniel chapter 7, 1-8, and John's prophecies in Revelation 13, 1-2 are one and the same. Daniel said, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me were the four winds of heaven churning up the great sea. 4 great beasts, each different from the others, came up out of the sea." Daniel 7, 2-3. John said, "The dragon stood on the shore of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority." Revelation 13, 1-2. The 4 different beasts of Daniel chapter 7 are the same beast of Revelation 13. This is so because the 4 beasts of Daniel 7 have now merged to form the one beast of Revelation 13. What does the 4 beasts of Daniel chapter 7 and the beast of Revelations chapter 13 represent? Daniel said, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me were the 4 winds of heaven churning up the great sea. 4 great beasts, each different from the others, came up out of the sea." What does beast mean in prophecies? Daniel 7:17 revealed that the 4 great beasts are 4 kings that will rise from the earth. Daniel 7:23 also revealed that the 4th beast is a 4th kingdom that will appear on earth. In other words, beast symbolizes a king, or a kingdom, or a nation, and these beasts are nations that will rule the earth in the future, in our time. The British-American Revolution and the creation of America. Daniel stated, "The first beast was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I watched until its wings were torn off and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a human being, and the mind of a human was given to it." Webster International Dictionary confirms that lion is a symbol of a nation, and the country is Great Britain. The lion is the official emblem or symbol of Britain. The Lion Monument at Trafalgar Square in London is a landmark symbol of England. The lion is Britain's national symbol, and the royal arms of England are 3 lions. Daniel stated that, "I watched until its wings were torn off and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a human being, and the mind of a human was given to it. The wings that broke off from the lion's back will form to become an eagle, a nation with an eagle as its symbol." The vision of the lion with wings depicted the British-American Revolution, and the creation of the United States of America. As explained earlier, the lion is the Great Britain, but the wings that broke off from the back of the lion depicted the creation of the United States of America. The eagle is the symbol of America. The eagle is used as a symbol on America's national seal and on the US dollar. What does the wings that were torn off from the lion's back mean? Britain colonized America. The vision of the lion with wings depicted the British-American Revolution, and the wings torn off the lion depicted America's independence from the Great Britain in 1776. The British-America Revolutionary War began in April 1775. United States of America declared her independence on July 4, 1776, but the revolution ended in September 1783. The Russia Revolutions. Daniel said, "And there before me was a second beast, which looked like a bear. It was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth." Russia is the bear. Bear is the symbol of Russia. When Russia hosted the 2018 World Cup, the bear was used as both the nation's mascot and symbol. The prophecy stated that, "And it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth." The 3 ribs in the mouth of the bear symbolizes the numbers of revolutions that Russia would experience. The Russian Revolution was a period of political and social uprising that took place in the former Russian Empire, which began during the First World War. The Russian revolutions were as follows. The First Russian Revolution, 1905 to 1907. The Second Russian Revolution, February 1917. The Third Russian Revolution, October 1917 to 1921. The Germany's First, Second, Third and Fourth Reich. Daniel stated, "After that, I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard. And on its back, it had 4 wings like those of a bird. This beast had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. The leopard is the German nation. The German war tank is called Leopard tank, and it's in reference to the symbol of Germany." The prophecy stated that the leopard had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. Each of the 4 heads of the leopard symbolizes or represents the number of different times that the German nation will rise and fall. Reich is the term used to describe a German regime or administration. In other words, the 4 heads of the leopard symbolize the First Reich, Second Reich, Third Reich and the Fourth Reich. The First Reich was also known as the Holy Roman Empire, and its reign was from 800 AD to 1806. The Second Reich was known as the German Empire, and its reign was from 1871 to 1918. The Third Reich was known as the Weimar Republic, and it reigned from 1918 to 1933. The Fourth Reich was known as the Nazi Germany, and its reign was from 1933 to 1945. The prophecy stated that, "And on its back, it had 4 wings like those of a bird." The reference to wings like those of a bird refers to fowl or rooster. The symbol or emblem of France is a bird or fowl. France has always been close allies or partners to Germany from the First Reich, and their relationship even became stronger after the Second World War to enable them rebuild Europe. The Holy Roman Empire, United Nation, the New World Order and the Antichrist. Daniel stated that, "After that, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was a 4th beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. The 4th beast is the United Nations." The United Nations was established in 1945 as an extremely powerful organization that controls all global affairs. After the Second World War, Europe was reduced to rubble, and 2 countries were emerging as nuclear powers: the Soviet Union and United States of America. Winston Churchill proposed that there should be a political alignment in Europe and that there should be a United States of Europe. He said to become a superpower nation, it's expected of the nation to have 200 million population and huge economic resources to enable any nation to negotiate with the superpower nations. No European country could boast of such population and huge economic resources, especially after the war. He suggested that Europe should set aside the differences and come together to merge as one nation, a United States of Europe, so that it could be recognized as an economic and nuclear power nation. In 1957, a treaty was signed by 6 nations, and it was called the Treaty of Rome. The treaty had what was called the common market, and its goal was to create an economic union within the nations of the European Union. The common market has evolved into the EU trade union. The common market started with 6 nations, and then they became 9 nations, then 10 nations, 12 nations and became 15 nations, and by 1992 every economic barrier in Europe was removed because of the treaty. And by 1999, Europe had its own money. By 2004, the European nations expanded to 25 member states, which meant that every European country had abandoned the national currencies and adopted a single EU currency. In 2007, the European Union became a 27 nations member state, and they became the #1 economy power with a population of over 500 million people. Daniel stated that, "While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being and a mouth that spoke boastfully. The little horn that came out of the 4th beast is the New World Order or One World Government, which will be the government of the Antichrist. The United Nations will create the New World Order of the Antichrist, and he will be given the power to boast against God and kill all who refuse to worship him." The prophecy stated that, "The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress his holy people and try to change the set times and the laws. The holy people will be delivered into his hands for a time, times and half a time." Daniel 7:24-25. One of the key phrases here is, "The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom." When the New World Order is established, the world will be divided or partitioned into 10 continents, and each of them will have its own administrator. The prophecy stated that, "After them another king will arise." The king that will rise from amongst the 10 kingdoms would be the Antichrist. The leadership of the European Union would single-handedly appoint the leader of the New World Order, and this individual would be the Antichrist. The prophecy stated that, "He will speak against the Most High and oppress his holy people and try to change the set times and the laws." The he is the Antichrist. The Antichrist will speak against God, kill Christians and try to change God's commandments. The prophecy stated that, "The holy people will be delivered into his hands for a time, times and half a time." This prophecy described the event of the Great Tribulation. The phrase, "a time" refers to a year, "times" refers to 2 years, and "half a time" refers to half of a year. So, in other words, the Antichrist will kill God's people for 3.5 years. We will now cross-reference Revelation 13, 1-8 with Daniel 7, 1-8, and 24-25 to confirm that both prophecies are one and the same. Furthermore, it's important to mention that what Daniel 7 revealed vaguely is made clearer in Revelation 13. John stated that, "The dragon stood on the shore of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority." The dragon depicted Satan or the devil, and the sea means multitudes or people, while the beast depicted the United Nations. John stated that the beast he saw had 7 heads, and it had horns with 10 crowns on its horns. And it also resembled a leopard, it had feet like a bear, and it had mouth like a lion. From the above, we see that all 4 beasts of Daniel chapter 7 are all represented in one beast of Revelation chapter 13. In other words, the 4 beasts of Daniel chapter 7 have combined to form a single or one beast of Revelation chapter 13. This one beast of Revelation 13 is depicted as the United Nations. The prophecy stated that, "One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast." What does this mean? We must examine the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2 to enable us to have proper understanding of the fatal wound of the beast. While interpreting King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel said, "Your Majesty looked, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, The silver and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. Daniel 2:31-35. The different parts of the body of the statue in the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar depicted different kingdoms or nations that will rule the earth from the time of King Nebuchadnezzar up to the time of the second return of Jesus Christ. The nations depicted by the different parts of the body of the statue and the period of the reign are summarized below. The head of gold depicted the Babylonian kingdom, which reigned from 604 to 539 BC. The chest and arm of silver depicted the Medo-Persian Empire, which reigned from 539 to 331 BC. The belly and thighs of bronze depicted the Grecian Empire, which reigned from 331 to 197 BC. The legs of iron depicted the Roman Empire, which reigned from 197 BC to 84 AD. The feet, partly of iron and partly of baked clay, depicted the reign of the Holy Roman Empire from 800 AD till the return of Jesus Christ. For the sake of time, I will limit my study to the prophecies regarding the legs of iron and feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. The prophecy stated that, while you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. Daniel 2:31-35. The rock that was thrown but not by a human hand, which hit the feet of the statue, depicted the kingdom of God. The rock depicted the second appearance of Jesus Christ, and it also depicted how Jesus will destroy the beast, which is the United Nations and the one world government of the Antichrist. Daniel stated that, after you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything, and as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. As mentioned earlier, the legs of iron is the fourth kingdom that will rule the world starting from after the days of King Nebuchadnezzar. The fourth kingdom was the Roman Empire. The iron element on the feet was used to depict the power, rigidity and cruelty of the Roman Empire. The prophecy stated that, just as you saw that the feet and toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom, yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united, any more than iron mixes with clay. The feet, partly of iron and partly of baked clay, that is iron mixed with clay, depicted the Holy Roman Empire, and it also depicted the structure of the beast, which is the United Nations. The iron element depicted how the Roman Empire ruled the world from 197 BC to 476 AD with great authority and brutality. The Holy Roman Empire was established on December 25, 800 AD, when Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne and called him the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. It's important to understand that the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire are not the same. The Roman Empire was a circular government with a normal military authority. The Holy Roman Empire, as the name depicted, is a union or combination or alliance of church and state, which is religion and politics. The prophecy stated that, the feet of iron mixed with clay. The iron is in reference to the political rule, while the clay is in reference to the religious rule of the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire has dual leadership or is ruled by two leaders at the same time. The political leader rules from Europe and through the office of the European Union in Brussels, Belgium. While the spiritual leader is the Pope, and he rules from the Vatican in Rome. The prophecy stated that, while you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. Daniel 2:31-35. This verse stated that the Holy Roman Empire would be in power and running the affairs of the world when Jesus returns. The rolling stone that crushed the statue's feet depicted the second coming of Jesus, when he will destroy the new world order and establish his kingdom forever. The prophecy stated that one of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. Revelation 13:3. We learnt earlier that all the four beasts of Daniel's chapter 7 emerged into one beast in Revelation 13. So, which beast sustained the injury? When did it sustain the injury? Revelation chapter 13 verse 2-3 stated that the beast I saw resembled a leopard but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. The first beast, which suffered a fatal wound but was healed, was a component or portion of the one beast of Revelation 13, which is also the Holy Roman Empire. As previously explained, all four beasts of Daniel 7 have combined to form the one beast of Revelation 13, which is the United Nations, as well as the revived or reborn Holy Roman Empire. One of the four beasts which formed the United Nations is the leopard, and it had a fatal wound on its head. Which nation today represents the leopard? Daniel 7:6 stated that, "After that, I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard. And on its back, it had 4 wings like those of a bird. This beast had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule." As mentioned earlier, the leopard symbolized the modern Germany. And the German war tank is called Leopard tank, and it's the #1 war tank in the world. When did Germany sustain the fatal wound? As briefly explained earlier, Germany suffered a catastrophic wound after World War II, when it was divided into 2 separate nations. In 1945, the United Nations was founded, which resulted in the restoration of the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire is a combination of 2 powers: the church and religious power, and government and political power. The prophecy stated that, and it, the leopard, was given authority to rule. What does this mean? Each head of the leopard represents a German regime. Reich is the term used to describe the German regime. The First Reich was known as the Holy Roman Empire, and its reign was from 800 AD to 1806 AD. The Second Reich was known as the German Empire, and its reign was from 1871 to 1918. The Third Reich was known as the Weimar Republic, and it ruled from 1919 to 1933. The Fourth Reich was known as the Nazi Germany, and its reign was from 1933 to 1945. Revelation 13:3 stated that one of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. The head of the beast which was wounded was the Fourth Reich. How did the Fourth Reich obtain the fatal wound? The wound of the leopard was an event planned by the Freemasons. Albert Pike's letter to Giuseppe Mazzini on August 15, 1871, described how the Freemason and the Illuminati order planned to create 3 major world wars that would enable them to establish the New World Order. Talking about the Second World War, Albert Pike wrote that the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed, and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. The key phrase from Albert Pike's letter is, "This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed." Germany's Nazi government, which was led by Adolf Hitler, was the Fourth Reich. Germany's Fourth Reich obtained the fatal wound when it lost the Second World War in 1945. The United Nations voted to divide Germany into two separate countries to prevent them from causing another world war. Germany was divided into West Germany and East Germany. West Germany was put under the control of United Nations Security Council, while the East Germany was put under the control of the Soviet Union. The prophecy stated that one of the heads of the beast, the leopard, seemed to have had a fatal wound. The breaking or dividing of Germany into two separate nations was the leopard's fatal or deadly wound. This singular act wounded Germany. By dividing Germany into two independent countries, it means that the German population and resources were cut by half. The German military strength and financial capacity were both reduced by half. Germany would never again disturb world peace again. People started fleeing from East Germany to Western Germany in search of safety and a better life when the Soviet Union started tormenting the people. To stop people from crossing into Western Germany, former Premier of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, decided to build the Berlin Wall in 1961. The wall was called the Berlin Wall, and it was 929 miles long. That's a distance from Lagos to Borno State, in the northern Nigeria. The Berlin Wall divided the West Germany and East Germany and effectively stopped people from crossing to either side of the countries. The prophecy stated that, but the fatal wound had been healed. What does this mean? How was the fatal wound healed? On November 3, 1989, the Berlin Wall was completely destroyed. The West and East Germany was reunited as one nation that we have today. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany was the fatal wound of the leopard that was healed. The healed wound gave birth to the New World Order. After the fall of Berlin Wall, Pope John Paul, Mikhail Gorbachev, George W. Bush and some council members of the United Nations met in Malta. Just 21 days after the fall of the Berlin Wall, the United Nations announced the birth of a new world order. Former U.S. Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney, in his bid to support reduction of weapons, he said, "There are good reasons to take these steps now. The world is in a new era of promise that started 2 years ago with the collapse of the wall." September 29, 1991. As mentioned earlier, the combined beasts of Revelation chapter 13 symbolize the United Nations. The United Nation will establish the new world order of the Antichrist. The United Nations will create the new world order, which is also known as the One World Government. The components of the new world order would be the One World Political System, One World Economy System and the One World Religious System. I will continue with John's prophecies of Revelation chapter 13. The prophecy stated that, "The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. People worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshipped the beast and asked, 'Who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it?'" Revelation 13. 2, 4. I already explained that the United Nations is the four beasts of Daniel chapter 7 and the beast of Revelation 13, and that they are one and the same. Though Revelation chapter 13 did not mention the little horn of Daniel chapter 7, but it's important to mention that the little horn is the new world order which will be created by the beast of Revelation chapter 13, which is the United Nations. As stated earlier, the little horn of Daniel chapter 7 and the beast of Revelation chapter 13 which spoke against God are one and the same. Let's examine the features of the two beasts to see their similarities. Beast of Daniel 7. Beast of Revelation 13. It's called little horn and beast. It's called beast. It will blaspheme the name of God. It will blaspheme the name of God. It was giving power over mankind. It was giving power over mankind. It will kill the saints for 3.5 years. It will kill God's people for 3.5 years. We see the characteristics or attributes of both beasts are the same. It's important to understand that what Daniel's prophecies revealed vaguely is made clearer in John's prophecies in the book of Revelation. John said, "The dragon stood on the shore of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name." Revelations 13:1. Daniel said, "After that, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was a fourth beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns." Daniel 7:7. Daniel revealed that the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. Daniel 7:24. The 10 horns of Daniel chapter 7 and the 10 horns of Revelation 13 are the same. They depicted the 10 nations that will be in alliance with the Antichrist and his new world order. The identity of these nations would be revealed after the new world order is established. The prophecy stated that, "While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them. And 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings." Daniel 7:8 and 24. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. Revelations 13:1. When the New World Order is established, at first, there would be 10 nations that will also have power to rule the world alongside the Antichrist, but he will later depose 3 from the 10 nations. One world economy. According to Revelation chapter 13, a time is coming when everybody will be required by the New World Order to have a number, and without the number, no one will be allowed to participate in the one world economy. This means that you will not be allowed to buy or sell or to make any business transactions. To participate in the one world economy, you will be forced to take the mark of the Antichrist, which would mean to pledge your allegiance to the Antichrist and accept him as God and Messiah. The prophecies of the one world economy and mark of the beast are over 2,000 years old, and the fulfillment of these prophecies can only be possible in our time, because of the invention of the internet, computer and the use of credit cards. As mentioned earlier, Mikhail Gorbachev stated in his book, Perestroika, and he explained that there are 3 main causes of war on Earth. He said they are political conflicts, religious conflicts and economic conflicts. Gorbachev suggested that if there would be peace and security on Earth, the world must have a single world political system, a single world religious system and a single world economic system. We have already discussed the one world political system. The prophecies of Revelation chapter 13 are about the New World Order, and it's divided into 3 sections. Verses 1 to 8 prophesied about one world political system. Verses 11 to 15 prophesied about the false prophet and the one world religious system. Verses 15 to 18 prophesied about the one world or global economy system. The combination of these 3 systems will be the New World Order of the United Nations. The New World Order will be controlled by a single political leader, the Antichrist. The Antichrist will use the New World Order to enforce compliance and obedience upon mankind. The prophecy stated that the second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. Revelation 13:15-8. What does the Bible mean by worship of the image? How would the false prophet give life to the image of the beast? The beast that came out of the sea, which had 10 horns and 7 heads in Daniel chapter 7 and Revelation chapter 13 verse 1-8, is the United Nation. The New World Order and the political leader, the Antichrist, will emerge from this beast. The prophecy stated that, "Then I saw a second beast, coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon." Revelation 13:11. The beast which came out of the earth, and which had 2 horns like a lamb but spoke like the devil, is the false prophet. What will it mean to worship the beast? To worship the beast means to pledge your allegiance to the Antichrist and his New World Order. It doesn't mean that someone must show sign of worship by bowing down to worship an image of a statue. This simply means to support or pay allegiance to the Antichrist and his government. The world may experience the kind of sign of allegiance that former German ruler, Adolf Hitler, and his Nazi government demanded from the German people to show sign of support to his government. The sign of allegiance to the Nazi government was where an individual stretches his or her right hand high above the shoulder and says, "Hail Hitler." This may be the kind of allegiance or sign of worship that may be required from an individual to honor the Antichrist and his New World Order. Pledging your allegiance to the Antichrist and his New World Order would also mean pledging allegiance to the devil. The prophecy stated that, "All who refuses to accept the mark of the beast will be put to death," but some people say this is not possible in a modern society. Let's rewind into history to refresh our memories. During the reign of Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union, he killed over 20 million people in his country, his own people who refused to conform to his political ideology. In 1949, during the Chinese Cultural War, when Mao Zedong took over China and over 30 million Chinese were killed. The 30 million deaths figure is according to the records of the Chinese government, but other sources suggested it was up to 60 million deaths. Adolf Hitler killed 6 million Ashkenazi Jews, and he and his Nazi government killed a total of 11 million people during Second World War. Up till now, there has been over 60 million people killed in over the last 50 years. The world is now accustomed to killings and hearing of death in large numbers without bothering them. It has happened before, and it will happen again. We see so many deaths through martyrdom and religious crusades. Over 15 million early Christians were killed as martyr during the Catholic Inquisition. The prophecy stated that, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name." Revelation 13:16-17. The invention of the internet and the computer has made it possible to set up a system whereby everybody on Earth can be tracked and controlled economically. There are many cases where we use our ATMs or credit cards, and on the screen of the ATM machines, it displays authorization failed or the network of your financial institution is out of service, and for these reasons you can't withdraw your money. What could have caused these problems? A financial institution's network or server could be down or out of service due to internet issues. A financial institution could be banned and removed from the national database if it does not follow the financial regulations of the country, e.g. bank regulations. The database is called the control grid. The control grid controls the internet servers of every monetary system in the country and all over the world. The control grid controls the function of the monetary system's servers and determines if a financial institution is credible enough to be used or not. Through personal informations which the banks or financial institutions already have, customers' ATMs or credit cards could be monitored from the mainframe database. The prophecy stated that a time will come when every individual would need a number to enable them to buy or sell, or to do any kind of business transaction. This is an important topic because these events will determine somebody's salvation or eternal damnation. If you do not pledge your allegiance to the Antichrist and his New World Order, your credit cards or ATM cards will be deleted from the mainframe database, which would mean that you won't be able to buy or sell or do any kind of business. The world is already in a cashless society and nearing a completely cashless society. Many countries and companies, especially banks and financial institutions, are pushing for full implementation of the use of credit cards as the only means of making payments. David Spangler, the director of Planetary Initiative, United Nations, said that, "No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. This is the ultimate plan. The New World Order will be a satanic government, and anyone who will enjoy its luxuries must accept and worship him. Those who receive the mark of the beast will be connected to the global control grid, and they will be allowed to transact businesses and withdraw money from their financial institutions. Those who refuse to accept the mark of the beast will be disconnected from the global control grid, and they will not be allowed to do business and withdraw money from their banks or financial institutions. They will be made to starve to the point where they will come out from their hidings and pledge their allegiance to the Antichrist and his New World Order. During that time, diversities will no longer be tolerated. Everything must go in one way and in conformity." Most Nigerians witnessed what the Great Tribulation period would be like when the Nigerian government suddenly introduced new currencies and a cashless business environment in January 2023. During this time, the government urged Nigerians to embrace a cashless business environment. This is where cash payments were replaced with online payments. Most people had money in their bank accounts, but they couldn't access or withdraw it to feed or settle their bills. This frustration led to anger and vandalization of bank properties. During this period, many people with health issues died because they couldn't access their banks and get money to buy drugs and to settle the medical bills. Many decent people literally became beggars to survive. Some women had to offer their bodies for sex in exchange for food due to the hunger. This is exactly what the situation would be like when the one world economy is actualized, and cashless society is in full swing. In Germany, Sweden and so many European countries, it is now illegal to homeschool children. The reason is because they want every child to have the same value of education, no more different societies, and they want everyone to think alike and to have the same value and culture. Europe will be the power base of the Antichrist. We see all these things are already beginning to happen. We see countries are punished or forced to come to conformity through sanctions issued by the United Nations. We saw what happened to Iraq during the reign of Saddam Hussein, Nigeria during the time of Sani Abacha, and Iran and several other countries that suffered sanctions from the United Nations. These are sanctions on the national levels, but Bible prophesied that there will be sanctions on individual level. In the history of the world, it has never been possible to sanction or place sanctions on an individual or personal basis by any government because there was no means to carry out such sanctions. Right now, there are technologies available that can enable any government to sanction anybody on a personal or individual basis. This means that someone could literally be completely isolated from the much expected one world economy. The world will soon have a totally cashless society, and when this happens, someone can be removed or pulled off from the global control grid. We already have laws in place that enforce people to get government-approved national identity card, or national security number, or else you won't be allowed to participate in your country's financial or business activities. For instance, in Nigeria, you can't open a valid bank account without registering for Bank Verification Number, also known as BVN. You can't register your phone number without the National Identity Number, also known as NIN. How can anyone survive without a bank account and a valid phone number? We see these things being done in every country in the world. This is what the situation will be like when the New World Order is established and the Antichrist is revealed. Those without the mark of the beast will not be allowed to get a job or transact any kind of business. How will you and your family survive without a job or if you are unable to do business? Right now, you can buy almost anything and do any kind of business online from any part of the world if you have a valid credit card, but when the New World Order is established, anyone who does not have the mark of the beast will be disconnected from the global control grid and he won't be able to transact business or withdraw money. The prophecy stated that, "Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man." That number is 666. What is the number of the beast? Will people voluntarily accept the mark of the beast? How will the mark of the beast be used against the Christians and the rest of the world? Over the years, there have been a lot of theories that suggested what the mark of the Antichrist is. Some people are of the opinion that the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church is the Antichrist, and that the calculation of his title conforms with the 666 prophesied in the Bible. The official title of the Pope is Vicarius Filii Dei, and it's a Latin phrase that means, Christ representative on earth. In Roman numerals, the letters of this title which have assigned value add to 666. The calculation for Vicarius is V equals 5, I equals 1, C equals 100, I equals 1 and U or V equals 5. The calculation for Filii is F equals I equals 1, L equals 50, I equals 1 and I equals 1. The calculation for Dei is D equals 500, E equals 0 and I equals 1 and totaling 666. This theory is very interesting, but the Pope is not the beast, neither is he the Antichrist. The prophecy stated that the number is the number of the beast. The beast here refers to the United Nation and the New World Order. There's another theory, which I believe is the right one because everything about it is pointing towards the New World Order. In late 2019, coronavirus, a disease popularly known as COVID-19, broke out in China, and by February 2020, the disease spread to almost all corners of the world and causing thousands of people to die. During the high point of the disastrous outbreak, World Health Organization, WHO, recommended that everybody on Earth be vaccinated with anti-coronavirus microchip implant. It's important to understand that the coronavirus vaccine that is currently being administered to COVID-19 patients is not the vaccine that the Antichrist will impose on the world. There will be an improved or an enhanced vaccine. I can't say for certain whether the current administered vaccine is good for human health or not, but what I can say for certain is that the future coronavirus vaccine would be a digital certificate. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has, like many other prominent people, have been talking about the COVID-19 outbreak and what people can do to slow down the spread of the disease and to help fight it. In an interview on Reddit, Bill Gates was quoted as saying, "Eventually, people will have some digital certificates, that is RFID microchips, to control diseases like the coronavirus." Bill Gates said, "Eventually, we will have some digital certificates," which probably means that the technology he was talking about is still in a very early stage of development. While Bill Gates is talking about the future digital certificate for humanity, the European Union has introduced a means to restrict people from entering or leaving the EU countries, and this restriction is called EU Digital COVID Certificate. Without this certificate, nobody will be allowed to enter or leave any European country. The digital certificate will be the Corona certificate. Corona is the certification number. Corona equals 6. C equals 13. O equals 15, R equals 18, O equals 15, N equals 14 and A equals 1, totaling 66. The future digital certificate is the mark of the beast. It may be too early to worry about someone forcing the world to receive a microchip implant, but it's important that we understand these things so that we are not taken unawares. How close is the implementation of the mark of the beast? The implementation of the mark of the beast is all about total or absolute control, and its implementation is growing as countries are already numbering their citizens. During World War II, Adolf Hitler numbered the Ashkenazi Jews, and the reason he tattooed numbers on their skin was to enable the Nazi government to identify and track them wherever they went. Today, over 100 countries have compulsory national identity card, and very soon, every country will have a national identity card system, and individuals will be identified by the numbers on his or her identity cards, which will be stored in the global database or the global control grid. The single purpose of the national ID card is to number the people, control them and restrict them from the total freedom. It's an invisible handcuff. The national identity numbers are stored on countries' national control grid, and they will be adopted by the New World Order, and the numbers will be used to track and kill all who refuses to pledge their allegiance to the Antichrist. David Spangler, the director of Planetary Initiative of the United Nations, said that no one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. Satan is trying to trap everyone so that he can control and compel them to worship him. As Christians worship God through Jesus Christ, Satan is also trying to set up his kingdom so that the world would worship him through his son, the Antichrist. This is what the New World Order is all about. It will be set up to worship the devil indirectly. There will soon be a global ID card system, and it will be used to track and monitor the activities of mankind. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, is an arm of the United Nations that has been assigned the responsibility of overseeing international travel. As of August 2023, 193 of the 195 countries are members of the ICAO and are issuing passports to their citizens in accordance with ICAO guidelines. International passports are also a means of global identification, and an individual can't travel without it. What we have learned so far are the prophetic interpretations about the beasts and how the prophecies as regards the New World Order would be fulfilled. We are going to learn how these satanic agents would bring these prophecies into fulfillment. In 2012, I stumbled into the Illuminati video training program. The Illumicorp training program revealed Illuminati's plans to take over the world and control it. America's actor Arthur Robert was the facilitator of the training program. Arthur Robert stated that, since ancient times, it's been the desire of the Illumins, meaning the enlightened ones, to win the control of the masses below. We want to protect us from them and them from themselves. The tool of the ages has been inefficient. It's always blunt and inaccurate, but now with the reality of new technologies, the masses will have the real ability to implement a control grid with their finance, industries, government and military, under our strict control. We can safely ship the population into a new world that is monitored and controlled by the Illumicorp. To understand what this means, we must first understand what grid means. What is a control grid? Grid has different meanings to different industries or fields, but the meaning is basically the same. In terms of computers and the Internet, Oxford Dictionary defined grid as several computers are linked via the Internet so that the combined powers may be harnessed to work on difficult problems. In this regard, Arthur Robert stated that, now with the reality of new technologies. The technology Arthur Robert is talking about is called information technology, which is also referred to as IT or ICT. The Illuminati and the Freemasons are planning on using the technology to control the world. In Daniel chapter 12, Prophet Daniel had a vision about the future of the world, But he didn't understand the vision, so he appealed to Angel Gabriel to interpret the meaning of the visions to him. The angel said to him, "Close the books, Daniel, and go your way, for this vision is for the later days, and in those days knowledge shall increase." The visions Daniel saw was for later days in the future, which is for our time, and there was no way the angel could have explained the meaning of the vision to Daniel because his mind would not understand it. As the angel prophesied, knowledge has greatly increased, and it's important to mention here that the internet is man's greatest invention. Every human invention, aircraft, financial institutions, bank accounts, fund transfers, telephones, all means of communications, social lives, security gazettes, heavy weaponry, etc. And almost all spheres of human lives are tied or connected to the internet. It's fair to say we can't do anything without the internet. Without it we will be redundant and useless. Arthur Roberts stated that the masses will have the real ability to implement a control grid with their finance, industries, governments and military, under our strict control. The above industries are essential to help humanity to sustain their social lives. Mankind would be redundant or handicapped if these things were taken away. Let's check it out for a minute. How would the banks operate without the internet? How could you or your businesses possibly survive without access to your money in the banks if you have been deleted from the bank's database? How can an aircraft take off or land without the help of the internet? How can a country's military artillery be launched without the help of the internet? Humanity can barely do anything without the use of the internet, and the Illuminati and the Freemasons understand this simple fact, and they are going to use it against mankind and control them with it. Arthur Roberts stated that we can safely ship the population into a new world that is monitored and controlled by the Illumicorp. This is what the plan is all about, to ship a monitored, controlled and naive people into a new world order. Arthur Roberts stated that, with the technology such as the internet, GPS and radio frequency around the people, within this decade, we will have real identity cards that contains criminal records and important information, and it will be linked to federal database. Cell phones will tell us where each individual live and will be linked to the same database. We can see this is now a reality today. As mentioned earlier, in Nigeria, we already have laws that compels Nigerians to have an approved biometrically registered identification. In Nigeria, it's known as National Identity Management Commission, also known as NIMC. The NIMC number is used to obtain all your personal data, such as international passports, driver's licenses, credit cards, bank accounts, phone numbers, dates of birth, and more. Arthur Roberts stated that criminal records and important information, and it will be linked to federal database. The whole idea behind this type of registration is to obtain and compile all data about an individual and save it on a national database, which will later be upgraded into the global database. Arthur Roberts stated that cell phones will tell us where each individual live and will be linked to the same database. This is the ultimate plan. The process of obtaining a biometric registration requires you to provide your personal information such as names, current address, date of birth, registered phone number, capturing fingerprint and current picture, etc. Once the registration is done, it will be saved on a national database and will later be upgraded into the global database. The internet technology can track the location of phones. And this will be used to track and hunt down individuals who will not pledge their loyalty to the New World Order. When mankind is successfully shipped into the New World Order, the societies will be separated. Arthur Roberts stated that, through intelligent agencies and homeland securities, we will monitor individuals who oppose the Great Plan and remove them from the control grid, and quickly the population will know that they have a choice, either to support the system and benefit from its luxuries or reject it and lose access to the control grid. This is the ultimate end game. Let's examine the key phrase here once again. Arthur Roberts said, "Through intelligent agencies and homeland securities, we will monitor individuals who oppose the Great Plan and remove them from the control grid." This is very scary, but it's true and it will happen. With the agents of the Antichrist running the affairs of all government agencies, they will use the then established global security agencies and the global control grid to track bank accounts, internet accounts, telephone accounts of individuals that will not pledge their support for the New World Order and remove them from the global database, the control grid. What does this mean? As mentioned earlier, right now, anybody can buy almost anything and do any type of business online from any part of the world. So what this means is that your details can be removed or barred or blocked from the global database. This means you have been isolated from the world's economy. Your phones and internet facilities will be hacked and used to track you down and possibly capture you. Some people say this is impossible to achieve, but it's not. So, how will the New World Order actualize this? I think the question we ought to be asking ourselves is, how possible is it for a global internet provider to sanction its users? This is possible and it will happen. The G technology. Most people are not familiar with the internet term known as G technology. G technology is an abbreviation for generation technology. G means generation. I have a special topic for G technology, but I will do a quick overview to enable us to understand this topic. Smartphones, wristwatches, homes appliances, cars, etc. are increasingly requiring stable internet connections to operate perfectly. To get enough bandwidth for the wireless feed, customers are going to need an entirely new form of wireless signal. Technology for wireless phones technically started with 1G in the early 1990s. The technology expanded to 2G, when companies first started allowing its users to send text messages between two cellular devices. Eventually the world moved on to 3G, which gave its users the ability to make phone calls, send text messages and browse the internet. The 4G enhanced many of the capabilities that were made possible with the 3G generation of wireless. Its users could browse the web, send text messages, and make phone calls, and they could even download and upload large video files without any issues and only in a matter of minutes. The fifth generation, the network component, is called 5G. The fifth generation technology was initiated in 2015. The physical and data link layer defines the 5G wireless technology, indicating it as an open wireless architecture, OA. 5G technology also maintains virtual multi-wireless network. How will the 5G network change the world? The global race is on to develop 5G, the fifth generation of mobile network, and scientists are more excited. They say 5G will be very different. Professor Raheem Tafazoli, who is the head of UK's multi-million pounds government-funded 5G Innovation Centre at the University of Surrey, said, "If you're thinking, great, that's the end of my app stalling, video filtering, and that everlasting load sign, then you are right, but that's only part of the story. 5G will be a dramatic overhaul and harmonization of the radio spectrum. That means the opportunity for properly connected smart cities, remote surgery, driverless cars and the Internet of Things. So, how best is it to understand this joined up, superfast, all-encompassing 5G network?" Professor Tafazoli said, "The term harmonization of the radio spectrum is key. The use of these frequency bands is regulated by the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, is 100 times faster. 5G will also run faster, a lot faster. Professor Tafazoli now believes it is possible to run a wireless data connection at an astounding 800 gigabits per second, that's 100 times faster than current 5G testing. A speed of 800 gigabits per second would equate to downloading 33 HD films in a single second. 5G's capacity will also have to be vast. Sarah Mazur, head of Ericsson Research, one of the companies leading the development of 5G, said, "The network will need to cope with a vast increase in demand for communication." Ms. Sarah Mazur also stated that, "The aim is for the first of the frequency bands to come into use around the year 2020, with the other two to follow soon after." The two mobile wireless technologies to follow are the 6th and 7th generations. 6th generation, the network component is called 6G. 6G is proposed to integrate 5G with satellite networks for global coverage. 6th generation technology is yet to be initiated. The 6G would be a cheap and fast internet technology that would provide unbelievably high data rates, or very fast internet speed access through wireless and mobile devices, possibly up to 11 gigabytes per second, even while traveling in a remote location. The satellite communication network may consist of telecommunications satellite networks, Earth imaging satellite networks, and navigation, direction finding, satellite networks. The goal of 6G is to integrate these kinds of satellite networks to provide network position identifier, multimedia and internet connectivity and weather information services to the mobile users. 7th generation, the network component is called 7G. The 7th generation technology is yet to be initiated. 7G technology deals with space roaming. The 7G mobile wireless networks aim to require space roaming. The world is trying to become completely wireless, demanding uninterrupted access to information anytime and anywhere with better quality, high speed, increased bandwidth and reduction in cost. We have seen the 7 networks proposed internet component generations that will provide the final solution to human problems. The first 5 is up and running, while we wait for the final 2. The 6th and 7th generation wireless internet will provide solutions to the new world order. They will provide the necessary required internet coverage for everyone on Earth and with great velocity. So, what internet era is the world in now? What internet generation is servicing the world right now? The first 3 internet generations have passed. We are fully integrated into the 4th generation and gradually advancing into the 5th generation. A few countries like England, China, Korea and Qatar have fully integrated into the 5th generation, 5G. Nigeria recently announced their readiness to launch the 5G as well, and they are gradually integrating into it. Let's examine the timing of the introduction of these internet technologies. The first generation, 1G, was introduced in the 1970s. The second generation, 2G, was introduced after 10 to 15 years, in the 1980s. The third generation, 3G, was introduced in the 1990s. The fourth generation, 4G, was introduced in 2010. And the fifth generation, 5G, was introduced in 2015, 5 years after the 4G was launched, and many countries have started using it. So, the question here would be, how soon will the 6G technology be unveiled? I will reveal more about it later. What I find most interesting about the 6G technology is what it's capable of doing, and why Christians should be wary or cautious about it. Unlike the 1G to 5G, which has the capacity to be regulated or controlled by the local internet provider and by the country's national regulators, the 6G has incredible features that we could never imagine, and it's also going to be controlled or regulated by a single international regulator. What are the features of the 6G technology? The 6G technology will have the following features. 6G will be very cheap, and it will run at a very fast internet speed access on air through wireless and mobile devices, possibly up to 11 gigabytes per second. 6G will provide satellite networks for global coverage. 6G will provide full internet access to travelers and to people in the most remote locations. It provides visual Earth imaging satellite networks. The satellite communication network may consist of telecommunications satellite networks with a single regulatory organization. 6G provides navigation, meaning directing of satellite networks. 6G provides position identifiers, which means a person or an object can be singled out and be identified. 6G also provides multimedia and internet connectivity and weather information services to mobile users. When the 7G is initiated, it will be an enhancement or upgrade of the 6G. We see that 6G technology is completely different from the others, and its features are mind-blowing. With the 6G technology, the One World Economy System aspect of the New World Order and a total cashless society will be achieved 100%. Which satellite will 6G and 7G technologies be connected to? Worldview 1. Worldview 1 is a commercial Earth observation satellite owned by Digital Globe. Worldview 1 was launched on the 18th of September 2007, followed later by Worldview 2 in 2009. The first imagery from Worldview 1 was available in October 2007. An Earth observation satellite or Earth remote sensing satellite is a satellite used or designed for Earth observation from orbit, similarly a spy satellite but intended for non-military uses such as environmental monitoring, meteorology, map making, etc. The TIROS-1 spacecraft, launched on April 1, 1960, as part of NASA's TIROS Television Infrared Observation Satellite program. The TIROS-1 sent back the first television footage of weather patterns to be taken from space. As of 2008, more than 150 Earth observation satellites were in orbit, recording data with both passive and active senses and acquiring more than 10 terabytes of data daily. Worldview 2. Digital Globe's Worldview 2 satellite sensor was launched on October 8, 2009, and it provides 0.46 meters panchromatic B and W, mono and stereo satellite image data. The Worldview 2 sensor provides a high-resolution panchromatic band and 8 multispectral bands, 4 standard colors such as red, green, blue, and near-infrared 1 and 4 new bands such as coastal, yellow, red edge, and near-infrared 2. Worldview 2 provide full-color images for enhanced spectral analysis, mapping and monitoring applications, land use planning, disaster relief, exploration, defense and intelligence, and visualization and simulation environments. Worldview 3. Worldview 3 is a commercial Earth observation satellite owned by Digital Globe. It was launched on the 13th of August 2014 to become Digital Globe's 6th satellite in orbit, joining Iconos, which was launched in 1999, QuickBird in 2001, Worldview 1 in 2007, GeoEye 1 in 2008 and Worldview 2 in 2009. In August 2014, Nicholas Karody of Archanek News reported that Google's satellite could soon see your face from the space. Interestingly, it reported that Google will soon have an unprecedented ability to spy on you from the space. How so? 2 months ago, after the lobbying by the biggest satellite company in North America, Digital Globe, the US government relaxed restrictions to allow for the commercially available satellite imagery up to 25 centimeters resolution, twice as detailed as the previous limited of 50 centimeters. The report also revealed that the extra sharp images from Worldview 3 will greatly increase the map's level of details to the point where it can make 10-inch objects, which means Google will soon be able to see manholes and mailboxes from its hired eyes in the sky. So, when you get the panicked feeling mid-flight that you forgot to turn off your coffee maker before leaving on vacation, Google will have resolution adequate enough for you to see a recent image of your slowly singeing house. You could also hypothetically pull up Google Maps and see real-time image of your actual plane, rather than a blue dot, soar further and further away from your fiery abode. This report suggests that with Worldview 3, nothing will be hidden from you if you are connected to the satellite. You could see anything hidden anywhere that's as deep as the manhole and inside the mailbox. Digital Globe currently has 5 birds satellites in the sky. One of them is known as the GeoEye-1, and it could capture images at 42 centimeters. Digital Globe, Google along with Microsoft, NASA and numerous America's federal agencies such as National Geospatial Intelligence Agency played a pivotal role in the capture of Osama bin Laden. Worldview 4. Worldview 4 satellites was successfully launched November 11, 2016 from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. Digital Globe's Worldview 4 is capable of identifying objects on the Earth's surface as small as 31 centimeters in the panchromatic and will collect 4-band multispectral at 1.24 meter resolution. Worldview 4 will have similar resolution as the Worldview 3 satellite sensors. This advanced resolution will offer customers unprecedented and precise views for 2D or 3D mapping, change detection and image analysis. Worldview 4 is capable of distinguishing or capturing items on the surface of the Earth that are as tiny as 31 centimeters. Worldview 4 satellite can identify and photograph items as small as backpacks or table vases from orbit. Worldview 4 satellite provides exceptional geolocation accuracy. This means that customers will be able to map both natural and artificial objects without the use of ground personnel. Google's company spokesperson Sarah Blask also stated that Google's Skybox satellite intends to launch a constellation of 24 satellites by 2018, which will survey the globe by taking pictures of its entirety 3 times a day. This too will eventually, undoubtedly, upgrade the picture quality on its map applications. Google's own birds can capture 90-second video clips and imagery at 30 frames per second. But how much can they actually see? Sarah Blask said, at this point, considerably less than the shots the Worldview 3 will be snapping. Skybox's satellites deliver high-resolution imagery better than 1 meter resolution, which means you can clearly discern features such as the size of car windshields, road markings and car colors. This literally means that objects such as the size of car windshields, road markings and car colors and anything can be seen or identified with the use of Worldview 4 Skybox's satellites. Skybox founder Dan Birkenstock echoed this claim in a TED Talk show he gave right before the launch of SkySat-1. He said, "From our own computer simulations, for the first time being able to count the ships and cars and shipping containers and trucks that move around our world on a daily basis while conveniently still not being able to see individuals. That last bit is the salient point. Skybox's satellites cannot capture details as small as license plate numbers or someone's face, yet. But Digital Globes might. At 25 centimeters, the images will be detailed enough to classify the maker of a car. If the restrictions relax further, the plate number or owner's face could come into clear view. Some reports also suggest that Google is planning on monitoring the Earth. In January 2017, according to a recently published patent which stated that Google Inc. plans to create a satellite constellation of around 1,000 satellites orbiting around the Earth and covering around 75% of its surface. Google, on its part, claims it will use satellite image and video capabilities for the greater good. The technology can be extremely helpful regarding natural disaster relief, and it could provide internet access to places where it was previously unavailable. Google says Skybox was acquired not to spy on people's mailbox numbers but to help it achieve something it has not yet been able to do, to create a competitive cloud service. Skybox plans to combine its Snap Happy satellites images with a collection of public data it has already gathered, like historical weather reports and satellite imagery, and create a vast archive, or a cloud for the Earth for other companies to run their own software and algorithms on. But that raises another question. What kind of companies will utilize this cloud for the Earth? What could they potentially create with this vast amount of knowledge that until now seemed only possible in their imagination? If Google can make out your face from space, regardless of whatever shelter you are under, what else is left for our privacy? The satellites can view your plate numbers, listen to your conversations, read and copy your emails, and text messages, and every bit of your personal data will be seen by an unwanted third party, and there will be no room for personal privacy. Every human being on Earth will be on the watch list. Once the restriction regulations are relaxed, they will have full view of human beings and there will be no limit to accessing public privacy. The internet and developing technologies are great things to have, and every aspect of human lives are attached to them. Some people could argue that the invasion of people's privacy is a good thing because it could help to combat terrorism, robbery, even a potential criminal act can be stopped. Yes, and it's true, but when the one world government is established, all these technologies and every existing organization, whether privately or nationally owned, will be transferred over to the government of the New World Order. The Antichrist will control the one world government, and he will use it to hunt down, capture and kill those who will not be loyal to his government. The end.